Welcome to the broadcast and welcome to Primrose Hill. Yes, I'm taking you out and about again on my travels. I must be mad. Don't worry, we're going to be resuming at the usual location, of course. But you really enjoyed the last video, taking you out on Hampstead Heath. I got a great reaction. Many of you were charmed to see the area that I love. So I'm taking you to another little enclave, Primrose Hill. There is a hill here called Primrose Hill. But the village itself, the sort of neighbourhood, which is about 2 miles outside the centre of London, is also called Primrose Hill. And I think last time I took you out to Hampstead Heath, that's about 3 miles out from the town centre, you know, sort of Oxford Street area, 3 miles out. This is about 2 miles out, so it's still very close to town, and we're right next to Camden Town. It's part of the borough of Camden. It's considered Camden really, but it's its own little personality, its own little enclave, Primrose Hill, of great legend, my dear. Well, for variety's sake, wouldn't it be interesting if just one of Meghan's confections had been well received instead of trashed, just for a bit of variety for us? I know that Harry and Meghan on Netflix received mixed reviews, but in general it was derided as being fiction and fantasy, but it was kind of watchable and it got ratings. But as for everything else, from As Ever to With Love and Pearl and Archetypes and now Female Founder, everything was absolutely savaged, and rightly so. And now her products are being savaged and they aren't enjoyed after she poured her heart and soul into all of them. So she told us. Well, I'm afraid the reviews haven't been good. I saw a couple where they said they were all right, these products, but the vast majority of them have been derided as overpriced crap. Are you surprised? I'm not really surprised. And even the Cut, Meghan's former collaborator, even the Cut can't bear the girl, can't bear her, and thinks she's monstrous, because Alison P. Davies knew exactly what she was about. And now they all know what she's about, because the whole team at the Cut has been sampling Meghan's wares, and none of them liked them, and they thought they were rather vile. And who can blame them? This was once a glamorous enclave for poets and bohemians and artists and writers and all the lovies of the 1960s, and there's a few of them still scattered about. There's also lots of very posh people, lots of rich people, lots of bankers. It's both benefited and suffered from gentrification, like many parts of London, my dear. But it's still absolutely beautiful to look at. It's a bit boring, but it's stunningly beautiful, full of charm and character and plain old beauty, my dear, with its pastel-coloured rows of houses and a few pretty people here and there as well, lots of nice dogs about. This is where Jude Law lived, Chamberlain Street. In one of the houses along here, it was the marital home of Jude Law and Sadie Frost. So this is also the scene of many a crime and many drunken stupors, I'm sure. For example, the reviews of the raspberry spread were not good. It was fine, said one of them. The vessel for my jam, which was a wheat thin, was better than the jam itself. Another one said that I was yearning to be converted to a jam lover, and it didn't work. And the style director, presumably at the Cut, said that they still prefer Welch's. They prefer Welch's version, my dear. Well, she could rename hers Wenches, couldn't she? From Welch's to Wenches spread. I think that would be perfectly appropriate. Welcome to Chalcot Square, scene of many a crime. And the senior writer at the Cut said, it sucks. It's like something you'd see at the toppings bar at Pinkberry. Well, we've got a Greenberry here at Primrose Hill. It's right there, actually. Greenberry. But apparently it's like the sprinkles at Pinkberry. Not a functional standalone jam in itself. And a lot of people have said that the version called Bon Maman, I think it's Bon Maman, isn't it, is much nicer, much more palatable, and better than Meghan's. And even Smucker's superior. Smucker's is superior. I figured she'd be better at making jam than producing podcast content, but no. So that's a damning verdict. And now the place tends to be populated with bankers and financiers. Lots of the houses, especially in Chalkett Square, have foreign investors, people that don't actually live in those homes. They don't need those homes, they're just investments, which is a bit sad. But of course there's still plenty of life here. But yes, Jude Law lived on this street, and in the 90s and the early 2000s it was what's known as the Primrose Hill set. So you had Jude Law, Sadie Frost, Kate Moss was always here, the Gallagher brothers from Oasis, Danny Goffey, all the indie bands of the time, and it developed a great reputation for sort of elegant slumming, posh debauchery, and style and fashion. Very much all about the Kate Moss vibe, if you will. And the Mail Online has been absolutely scathing. Surprise, surprise. And they said that the tea bags have instructions to bring the water to a boil. Just in case you didn't know, you should put the kettle on and bring it to a boil. Well, aside from the fact that we don't really need instructions, the simple matter of the fact is that actually you don't bring it to the boil, you bring it just shy of the boil. And the crepe mix came in for some criticism too, because she calls it the French style of crepe. Do you know any other style of crepe? If you do, then you add that on, the American style of crepe or the Chinese style of crepe. Crepes are crepe, and they're French. So you don't need to dress it up as being French style. Do you understand? And there was an apology note included in some of the orders because the wildflower honey had run out. Apparently she'd sold it out. What did she make? 2 pots, one for Doria and one for Harry. Oh, and of course one for Gwynnie. Spread her honey thickly. Well, apparently that all ran out. And she provided an apology note, a vulgar apology note, for all the orders that weren't fulfilled. And apparently was full of grammatical mistakes and errors. There was a missing period, as they call it overseas, a missing full stop. And it was very ingratiating. And, you know, she refers to them as her friends. I know it's a marketing ploy, but they are not friends, Meghan. They are customers. They are customers. Can we please not forget this? This is getting all too prevalent in modern society. As you can imagine, there's a very good vantage point here. You get some of the best views in London, and lots of those views are protected by law. There are 8 royal parks in London, and this is a sort of offshoot of the Regent's Park, known as Regent's Park, another one of my favourite parks. A little enclave. Well, there's the actual hill, Primrose Hill, and then there's the surrounding neighbourhood. The whole area was once part of a great chase, which was appropriated by King Henry VIII, and then Primrose Hill ended up being purchased by the Crown from Eton College in 1841 to extend the parkland that was available to the paupers and the peasants of North London for their open-air recreation. Wasn't that generous? I think so. Give them a bit of air to breathe, all the paupers and the peasants. Well, the keepsake box, the famous keepsake box, has been described as a beige cardboard tube with hard plastic buffers glued inside it, and it's not very securely attached, as mine fell off internally. Its best home is your recycling bin. Well, she's got it in one, hasn't she? She's got it in one. And as for the flower sprinkles, which looked like coloured lint you'd pick out of your sweater and felt rough on the tongue and teeth, almost like roasted hay. Well, that doesn't sound very appetising, does it? It doesn't sound appetising at all. I wouldn't want to have a bunch of her flower sprinkles. But I'm sure somebody would. Prince Harry, probably. And of course she has to mention the kids, doesn't she? She has to bring the kids into it. She has 3 different flavours, I think, of this herbal tea, and of herbal hibiscus. It says, there is something magical about placing tea leaves in a mason jar outside and letting it steep in the warmth of the sun, as I do with my children. And the other flavours are herbal lemon and ginger and herbal peppermint. And they were all watered down, we're told. They're all watery, watered down, with little to no actual taste. So another disappointment that people are spending their dollars on. It's a disgrace. And actually, there's a very stark lesson to be learned, if Meghan could please take notice. A stark lesson for the egocentric likes of Meg, because Queen Camilla endured vitriol and hatred on a scale that she can never imagine, and she continues to be disparaged by some very bitter people who cannot seem to get past what Prince William's been able to. He's been able to get over it, but nobody else seems to. The fact of the matter, my dear, is that there are life enhancers. There are life enhancers, such as Queen Camilla and Prince William. But when it comes to Harry and Meghan, they are energy vampires and soul suckers. Do you understand, my dear? They want to suck the life out of things. And the difference is plain to see. Well, Camilla successfully channeled the royal spirit, didn't she? In the face of blanket abuse and overwhelmingly unfavourable press coverage, there was not 1 millisecond of complaint from Queen Camilla. Was there? Not one. Even if you loathe the woman, you've got to give her that, my dears. Even if you still hate her after all these years, you've got to accept the fact there was not 1 millisecond of complaining or attempting to explain. She just got on with loving the king, or the Prince of Wales as he was, and doing her duty and doing her service. You know, that's royalty for you. It's the pure, stiff upper lip, my dear, the English reserve. That's what's important here, and that's what you saw from Queen Camilla. English reserve and the art of buggering on that her husband has spoken of so well, my dear, the art of buggering on. Their Majesties buggered on, and they focused on their private life and their personal love and their public role. And therefore you have a week like this week where their Majesties have been received in Italy, in Rome, and also then on to Ravenna. Ooh la la, my dear, what's going on there? Their Majesties were received in a very glamorous state visit. And actually it's the perfect testament to romance, isn't it? It's in Rome, romantic. It's a testament to love. It's a testament to their Majesties, and it's romance in its purest form. The King and Queen resemble love. When in Rome, absolutely, my dear, absolutely. And all of this is on the occasion of their 20th wedding anniversary. When you have a bond like theirs, my dear, then the trolls and the critics and the snipers and the press and the bitter and the peanut gallery are an insignificance, you understand? They pale into insignificance, and to be quite honest, they can fuck off. As we begin our first visit to Italy as King and Queen, we are so looking forward to celebrating our 20th wedding anniversary in such a special place and with such wonderful people. The President of Italy welcomed their Majesties at Quirinale Palace, and there was a very enthusiastic turnout. Did you notice that, my dear? The fruits of Italy, the tutti frutti, they were out in force. There was hundreds of thousands of them, and there were children, and they were so enthused to see their Majesties. And I would really like to take this time to thank Italian basketeers, especially, will you please make yourself known, and the people of Italy for making their Majesties so welcome. And by the way, the shop at Highgrove are taking orders for a silk scarf, an anniversary edition for 20 years of marriage. It's a very pretty sort of yellowish gold colour. You might want to take a look at that. And no doubt there is going to be a version by As Ever on the way as well, isn't there? We're going to have another version coming out soon, a sort of cheap version, because Meghan and Harry's anniversary is coming up too, but it's their 7th anniversary. And I'm rather interested because I believe in the 7-year itch. And I think it's going to be like a case of scabies, rabies and crabs all around Montecito, my dear, for 7 years. There's going to be more than an itch. And I wouldn't want to scratch those itchy parts, I'm telling you. Those heady days under the stars, those lusty days under the stars in Botswana, you know, when Harry took her to Botswana, I'm afraid that they are gone. They are long gone, my dear. And all he's got now, and all he's got left, our Harry, is endless meetings with lawyers and legislators, and all she's got left for pleasure are her baby carrots. And, you know, there are benefits and there are downsides of gentrification. This used to be a very bohemian area with lots of poets and artists and actors rubbing along shoulders, rubbing along with everybody else and all types of people, a bit of a melting pot. But now it's just sort of full of rich people, mainly. I mean, there is social housing here as well. Well, after its appropriation by Henry VIII, actually much later in 1841, Primrose Hill became the property of the Crown, and the place was secured by an Act of Parliament in 1842 as a public open space. And hangings used to take place on the top of the hill. And actually, in October 1678, Primrose Hill was the scene of a murder, a grisly murder of Edmondsbury Godfrey, and 3 Catholic labourers were found guilty, although later on it was found that they weren't guilty and they were exonerated, but it was too late because they'd been hanged. But their names were Robert Green, Henry Berry and Lawrence Hill. And so for a while, a few years after the hanging, the area around here was actually known as Greenberry Hill, after their names, you see, Green and Berry and Hill, Greenberry Hill. And there's a shop named after that, still in existence today. The canal was completed in 1816 and the railway under the hill in 1838. It was actually the first rail tunnel in London, so quite historic. And there was a red carpet rolled out And the royal derriere was furnished with sumptuous orange gold cushions, which I thought was very nice. I love the colours that Italy chooses to use, and of course they're known for their style. Charles addressed a joint session at the Italian Parliament.
Presidenti del Senato e della Camera dei Deputati.
And actually he's the first British monarch to do so, and only the fourth non-Italian to do so, so that's quite something.
Sono enormemente onorato di essere stato invitato. Ricorre anche il nostro 20° anniversario di matrimonio.
And it was a vespertine fantasy in the evening for the state banquet at the Palazzo. I thought it was an absolute rave, and the Queen was wearing the most gorgeous shades. I saw it described as a green lace number by Fiona Clare, but what colour would you call it? I don't know, there's teal, a variety of colours, but I'd be interested to hear what shade you thought it was. Stunning colour, like a vintage jewel tone of a quality street wrapper. And actually Camilla wore the same number by Anna Valentine for her wedding 20 years ago. So it's a rewear. And 20 years of marriage is traditionally celebrated with china, and Camilla says that she has got a present for the king, some china, but she has yet to present it to him. They are trying to focus on work while they're in Italy, and then they're going to have some little kissy time together for prezzies once they're back home. However, there was some disappointment because the Queen didn't wear her tiara. She was not dripping, and I was quite disappointed, because apparently it's de rigueur for the Queen to wear tiaras to the state banquets. The late Queen did it at least a couple of times when she was in Italy being hosted. She wore the turquoise and diamond necklace from her turquoise suite. Actually, that came down from her father's line, Major Bruce. Shan's line came down from him. Very pretty, aren't they? And the earrings were from a contemporary diamond suite that she favours. And then there were the late Queen Mother's Cartier bracelets, but no tiara. Did she want to borrow one from me? Were there enough in the collection? It's a bit of a shame and a bit of a waste. You need to bring out the jewels and the gems for these occasions. The late Queen used to wear the Vladimir tiara when she was in Italy. That was a favourite of hers there. I think Italy would have thrived to see the jewels and the gems and all of their glory. This is Italy we're talking about, my dear. They love the drama, don't they? They live for the drama. But the whole affair has been an absolute triumph, and it showcases the soft power of diplomacy that the King holds. It strengthens the bonds of all the nations, doesn't it? Brings us all together, and it's just about being full of goodwill for each other's traditions and the role. And the good news was that they did get to meet Pope Francis after all, my dear. After all of that, he was well enough and he still had a pulse, so he was able to greet their majesties. This was at the Vatican, a private meeting where the Pope's convalescing, and they exchanged gifts. And the King said that he was delighted that the Pope was well enough to host them. So all's well that ends well, even if the Pope does die. Now it's me boobless, you understand, my dear. And there were hugs galore. There were hugs galore before the kick-off. And this was the biggest European match. And after a promising start, I'm afraid they lost out. We always lose. We lost to the French. But as part of the Champions League, apparently this was called, it was a big night out for little George. And they bond over it, don't they, so much. And the picture's very touching there. So I'm glad they had a good night out, away from the rest of the family. But I was surprised to see how superstitious Prince William is, because apparently he's got all this paraphernalia for good luck that he uses for a game. He said that he's been wearing all my lucky clothes and bits and pieces and done all my routine, so I'm hoping it's going to bring some luck tonight. Well, it didn't bring any luck to you, Prince William, so you might want to drop all of that nonsense in future, my dear. I'm afraid all of your rituals and lucky clothing did absolutely goose egg, did zero, so never mind. Boys will be boys, won't they, my dear? Boys will be boys. And at least it was a valuable lesson in team spirit for Prince George. Very valuable lesson, and a lesson in losing. Because life is about the swings and roundabouts, isn't it, my dear? The ups and downs, the winners and the losers. So it's all character building for young Georgie Porgy. Well, thank you very much for joining me on today's broadcast. The sun is beginning to reduce in intensity. Oh, and somebody's having a sing-song. Yeah, it all goes on here in London, my dear. It all goes on. The sun's going down, and all of a sudden it's so much easier to record. So I'll know for next time not to come out in the blazing heat. What is it they say? Only mad dogs and Englishmen go out in the midday sun. Well, I wanted to try and capture what a sunny day it was for you. but it was very difficult to record earlier. It's becoming easier now. Anyway, I thank you very much for your company. I hope you enjoyed this little spin around town. Another little part of my locale, my neighbourhood. Isn't it gorgeous? And I'm so glad, by the way, to introduce so many of you to parts of the kingdom you didn't realise existed. So many of you said to me, I thought London was a shithole. Well, and really dangerous to wander around in. But the truth of the matter is, my dear, there are shithole parts and there are nice parts. And there are lots of lovely people to be found. Interested, curious, interesting people. And to be quite honest with you, there's nowhere like this city, nowhere like it in the world. Even now, as part of this woke universe, there are a million neighbourhoods, by the way. London is absolutely gigantic, very sprawling, and each neighbourhood, each village has its own character. There are nice ones and not so nice ones, my dear, but it's still a place that most of us are very proud to call home. Wouldn't want to be away from it for very long and get into panic mode when we are. But now I'm going to treat myself to something nice. I might have a crepe from that shop, or I might have a drinky poos at the Queen's, or I might do both. Let's see. Bottoms up. Anyway, I will see you next time, my dears. Thank you for joining me for another outdoor river broadcast. Wonderful. And if you enjoyed this, and you enjoyed me showing you around, and you want to treat me, then my tip jar is in the description box, and I thank you extremely sincerely if you do so. I will see you next time. Take care, and toodle pip.